Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Brad Gilley. I work with Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and the Performance Racing Network, basically talking about NASCAR and racing on the radio, which is a lot of fun. And I'm thrilled to be here with this. Joining us now, this is Steele Racing Products, and they're a technology company that specializes in designing and manufacturing innovative cooling products for performance vehicles. And I'll tell you about our two panelists real quick, and we'll get into the discussion. And if you have a question, you could use the chat feature at the bottom. Just type in your question, and we'll try and certainly get to as many of them as we can, if not all of them. And also, if you need more information or if you want to contact them directly, you can always go to epartrade.com if you've not signed up yet. It only takes a minute or so to do that, and you could actually go to the Steele Racing Products page and contact them directly from there. But our two panelists, Andy Wagner is the president, and his bio, he's influenced and inspired at a young age to fill the technical shoes of his father, Robert Steele Wagner, the namesake of Steele Racing Products, and its affiliates. After graduating from the University of Arizona's Eller College of Management, Andy formed Steele in 2013 with a central focus of brake, tire, and gearbox cooling systems for NASCAR. And today, Steele provides top race teams around the world with high-performance brushless radiator fans, brake blowers, and helmet pumpers, along with numerous custom solutions for industries outside of racing. And Pedro Perez, LP, is a product manager born in Puerto Rico. LP started in amateur racing and kart racing at a young age. Then from there, he transitioned to SCCA Puerto Rico Street Touring Racing while pursuing a master's in aircraft management systems from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And Pedro brings his passion for automotive racing and technical aero management experience and applies it every day at Steele. So gentlemen, welcome to Online Racing Industry. We really appreciate y'all's participation. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having us.
All right, well, let's just dive into exactly what you guys do. And if you go to the Steele Racing webpage, obviously, just a plethora of things as far as cooling goes. And I know brushless is a big part of that. So if you wouldn't mind starting, what is the difference between brushless versus brushed fans?
Sure. Brushed fans have been around a very long time, and it's really the industry standard in terms of commercial use in buses and oil and gas, and really everything that our cars, normal cars that drive on the road, use. Brushless systems are fairly new in a sense of being utilized as high performance systems. They require an additional layer of a controller. So it's not as simple as putting power and ground to it. There's some tech that goes on behind it where you have a hardware component that is giving it logic. And that system in itself has to synchronously run in parallel with the fan spinning, the motor efficiency, the blade curvature, everything. There's a lot more variables to take into account, but if you get that really nice sweet spot in a brushless system, you have not only performance gains, but you have reliability and longevity. For example, typically on average, a brushed motor radiator fan would last about 5,000 hours of duty cycle. A brushless system can go upwards of 50,000 hours of duty cycle. So you get much more longevity just by running a much better and efficient fan system. So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yep, sorry about that. So we've applied that in all of our products. It really started with the brake cooling systems, and back in 2013, it was very, very simple. We would pre-program these fans before they'd leave the shop. We'd do them in a way that was easily accessible for race teams to just plug and play. Now, as ECUs are getting more sophisticated, and there's things like CAN bus and PWM interfaces that they want to tie these fans and control them in their cars. We've upped our level of having better interfaces where racers can really fine tune the fans to be performant and provide some critical gains in key areas of aerodynamics too.
So it's more than just flipping a switch and moving air. There's actually an efficiency to it and everything else that you have to do, right?
Exactly, and it's an ancillary component to all the other peripherals in your race car. So if you have an accelerometer that you're turning, a certain way, well, you can tell the fan to go and speed up a certain speed. There's really interesting logic that you can do, and I think, the world of racing, it's barely scratched the surface of what forced air can do for your race car.
When it comes to cooling and when it comes to, again, moving air and the efficiencies of it, I mean, if you peruse through your website at Steele Racing Products, you'll see any number of different, not only styles of fans, but fan housings as well, and all of that. So could you speak to really how this benefits the racing industry, who is always looking to very efficiently make things happen that is going to improve their performance?
Sure, sure. One of the biggest things in stepping away from focusing solely on NASCAR is NASCAR is used to making custom things, custom housings. You make a part, and they'll make it work, they'll make it fit. When you start going into other industries like off-road and SCCA racers or IMSA racing, the GT cars out there, there's a little bit more of conformity required for how we build our fan system. So we've with our Gen 4 brake blower, we have basically an adapter setup that you can swap out a firewall mounted flange or an inline 3-inch adapter. So it can really go in all the generic areas of a race car, so you can not be limited by making a custom carbon whatever. And that's actually allowed a lot more traction for people to accept a, a new kind of system like that into their car.
Just focusing on, say, brake cooling, for example. Obviously no one wants their brakes to fail on them, and you can certainly help not only with the failure points, but also just simply the fact that it's going to work consistently throughout the course of a race. And we all see the nice glowing rotors and all of those things that look really cool, but I'm sure you guys are trying to stop that from happening as
Oh
much.
yeah,
What does that
yeah,
mean to a racer? I mean, as far as performance goes, how do your cooling systems really help them see gains on the racetrack?
yeah. Yes, so that is a great question. And right there, you save not only time, uh, but money as well. Uh, the brake calipers, for example, in the very beginning, we had our first system that we went and uh, put our brake cooling fans on a time attack Subaru STI car that was, it was a, for its time back then, it was really a fast vehicle, and it would do one lap around the track up here in Firebird Raceway up in Phoenix. Rotors would already be glowing. It's like, they're already hot. So this was without any fan system. So we, okay, let's put our fan system in there, do the same thing, let everything kind of normalize. Uh, the rotor temp prior was around uh, seeing about 1600 F. I mean, it was hard braking. It was just hot. We put our fan system in line, and it dropped down in one lap down to 850 F. So just with forced air. So, it's typical that you see race cars have NACA ducts that route air to your brakes or to your tires, but you're really losing all the gains when you're slowing down, when you really need it. So it's kind of counterproductive. It's something, but it's nothing like forced air. Uh, the other advantages as well is when you really have a templated race style, like, stock car racing, or where a vehicle is in a known track where it's going to be on, these fan systems can be used for aerodynamic advantages. So we're talking like, one fan can produce up to 40 pounds of downforce, and to a race car and to a team, that's, shaves either fractions of a second off their lap time, and, it gets them a little bit farther ahead. And it also means too that they don't have to, they get longer stints on their tires and calipers as well. So it means great deal. So they're performance critical. So we have to keep our standards very high, and our technology that we build and the integration, so that it doesn't fail halfway through.
Well, I also want to add that on the aspect of a race car driver, having that, knowing that I can push the car a little bit farther down, because when I hit those brakes are not going to fade will allow me to get an advantage into another car. Let's say if I'm coming to a turn and I'm looking to make a pass at this point, and knowing that I can push the car past my normal braking point because I know my brakes are not going to fade is something really amazing and something really great for the whole industry. That's where most of the advantage you receive as not just only as all the components and all it does, it just at the race, what you gain from having brakes being cooled down.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember a couple of years ago in NASCAR, all of a sudden we started seeing rules in the rule book about brake fans and different things like that because of the aerodynamic advantage they were finding. At what point did you guys start realizing that, and did it change your business a little bit? Now it's not just about moving air and keeping things cool. It is about moving air, but it's moving air in a way that has two purposes now.
Yes, I will say that, I don't want to say that we were the reason for that rule change, but there is a very heavy influence of what we do that's very different than any other system out there, and it's such a niche type specialty skill that there really isn't anybody else that can provide that. What we've done to adapt with the rule changes is you look at the rule book.
Well, and also another thing that is something that had to be said before. Most of the I won't say most, but everybody in the industry makes fans working out of CFM, and all they worry about is CFM. Our fans are not based on the CFM. Our fans are based out of pressure. There's more of having CFM. Yeah, on a bench test, it will do a great test. But once you put it in real life, where you have drag coming from the ram air and getting into the car, passing through the radiator, creating impedance, also the radiator shroud creating negative pressure, all of those together will change dramatically how the fans operate. So our fans, we base them on pressure other than CFM. That's where most of the advantage that we get out of the fans are from.
Yeah, that's an innovative way of thinking as well. Andy Wagner is the president for Steele Racing. Pedro Perez, LP, is the product manager. If you want to ask a question, you can do so in the chat and type in your question. We do have one for you gentlemen as well. This comes from Nelson Watkins. Says, what type of horsepower is required to power a typical brake cooling system?
So these vary, and basically on our website we have three generic options of preset speeds. So a 7 amp, a 10 amp, and a 15 amp version, all run through a 12 to 14 volt system that you can just plug directly in. There is, for the custom race car builder, there is an option to just talk directly to our fan system that we can help walk a customer through that, whether it be on a dial or potentiometer. There's also that. So you have basically a 0 to 100% scale effect of where you want to tune it to be.
Yeah, the horsepower is not a limitation to where you're going to cool down. As Andy was saying earlier, we've been hearing a lot on the off-road industry. That's where I come into play most of the time. And on the off-road industry, we're dealing with not an alternator, we're dealing with stators, where the power is reduced. Another key factor from our company is that we have the soft starts, where our fans will not create a voltage spike at startup. So regardless how much power or energy the car is producing, will not be affected by the utilization of a fan.
Yeah. As far as being user-friendly, you talk about obviously the efficiencies of moving the air, but also the different things that you can do to deliver an amount of air or a pressure that you want at certain times or not at certain times. For someone who might not have an advanced degree, for someone who might just be trying to find a better way to make their race car work, how simple is this to learn?
Well, it's super simple in the fact that we test every day. We test our fans. We put them through different aspects, we put them different real life scenarios. So whenever you're gonna go get a fan from us. We will ask you a few questions about what's your intent to use with the fan, what you want to do with the fan, and we take care of that logistics for you. Once you tell us what you want, we'll give you a product. Our product, as I said, as Andy was saying initially, our product is a smart product. So let's say that you initially wanted something to do, or the fan to do certain things, and now you decided, hey, you know what, I learned more, I got more advantage for it, I want something different. You can send that fan back, and that fan can be reprogrammed again to do whatever now you need. So there's no actual need to be like mathematically, hey, I need this type of pressure, whatnot. You tell us what you need, and we'll provide you the product, like user-friendly, plug and play.
How race car specific are these products? I mean, I think of an off-road truck, and obviously running out in the desert, in the dirt, and all of that. And I know people have screens in front of things and all of that to try and protect from debris. And maybe that debris is going to be different than what you see on a road course, which could be different than what you see on a NASCAR oval or something like that. But when it comes to the consideration of those things and things that could potentially fail the product, what sets you guys apart?
Absolutely. So one big thing I want to mention too is on the mechanical side, we really set ourselves apart from everybody else by producing an all metal fan design, even the rotor blade itself. And these are fairly small systems. They're 3.5 inches in diameter. So building and designing a rotor blade and cutting that out of a 5-axis CNC is no small feat. And doing it efficiently, thousands of times over. So we understood from a business perspective that mechanics can be reverse engineered, they can be copied, but the industry really is after a more technical solution, and that's where our IP core is at. It's in the software. It's in that logic brain that you can't get into unless there's permissions through our company. It can be replicated, but there's a huge barrier to entry trying to step into that realm. So we've just integrated kind of a nice suite of mechanical and software together and offered it to the racing world. But now we're offering more general, not hardcore pro, Cup Series stuff all the time. Our radiator fans are a perfect example. They're exactly just the same form factor and sizing of a small fan or a Meridyne fan, or it's one of those that can be replaced directly with one of those systems, but it has our core IP in it.
In terms also of protection, our fans also come with IPA68. So this is the highest rating that you can get on this fan. This is certification IPA68. It's not just words saying it. One thing that I was laughing when Andy was commenting about the metal blades is I remember doing a demonstration to one of the race teams, and we was talking about one of the bird blowers, and I had the fan holding it on my hand and talking to them on a desk, and they just playing with the power on it, and all of a sudden they started sucking the paperwork from the desk, and it was shredding it. The fan was not affected at all, but the rest of the office was confetti all over the place. So these fans, is other than the IPA68 and the other testing that we have done for failing, the best test that this fan has been their endurance through NASCAR, where they've been sucking tire treads as they go in. They've been getting all sorts of debris at really high temperature or really high speeds and have not failed at all of them. We have one Baja team that been using one of their fans and has 5,000 race miles through Baja itself, other than the Best in the Desert and King of the Hammer, and have not a single problem yet, have not even a failure on the fan.
Wow,
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say that's pretty fascinating. I do love the paper shredding story, by the way. That's
I have many stories. Some involve blood, but
yeah,
we won't go into that one.
That sounds fair. You know, we talk about your brake cooling systems, and you mentioned the radiator fans as well. You know, and look, I know racers don't really take many things for granted when it comes to the performance of their race car. But if someone looks at it and says, well, we just need to stick a radiator fan on there, why do they need to stick a Steele Racing Products radiator fan on their car?
Well, one thing that I want to explain, and I brought a radiator type here demonstration. So let me pull it up really quick here. So this, this is a custom built Steel Performance one. Is all billet, but there's a lot of factors that influence it when you have a car. I talked about it earlier. So as you driving your car, you're getting ram air pushing to the radiator, getting a cooling effect. But at the same time, you have a radiator on the back. Most of the CFM based fans will just create airflow. That airflow is not enough to counteract the pressure being built by the ram air. So the fan will actually become a blockage. So instead of getting air pushing out of the fan blade itself is producing an impedance. It's just like you have put a block of paper in front of the fan. Only when that ram air gets reduced, then that fan starts operating again. Also, the shrouds of the fan itself creates negative pressure. The radiator creates impedance. So having a radiator fan produce on pressure will eliminate that negative pressure, that impedance out, when you will have more cooling effect out of the radiator. That's one of the biggest advantage of it. That's why we don't base our fans out of CFM, because that's the error that everybody got. As you mentioned before, we come from aeronautical backgrounds where we have other effects of drag that are brought into the picture, making it, hey, this is the problems that you get with a rotating mass that is not removing the same resistance that is actually creating. That's one of the advantages. The other advantage is the amount of amp draw that our fans produce. On a similar fan, a startup, we have seen up to 80 amp spikes at startup. And then once their fans kicked on, their fans just go 0, 100. And you have that big air spike, electrical spike going in, and then you have 20, 25 amp draw while the car is operating. Realize that, and I'm talking just a 10-inch fan. I'm not talking huge fan, just in a 10-inch fan. For every 24 amps is 1 horsepower loss on your car. Sometimes that horsepower, when you're in a category that everybody has to have the same amount of horsepower, can make a huge difference. Also, once you start running the Orphans at bench tests produce 0.2 amps startup. Once they start up on a core, they can go up to 1 amp rather than 80 amps. And then it will ramp up gradually. We'll have 2 speeds they will be ramping up until they're a full blast. Also, as Andy was saying before, our fans are intelligent fans, so we can control when that is going to kick in. We have some setups where we have 2 fans going on, one running full blast and the other one just alternating as it needed, just to conserve the electricity on the car to produce extra horsepower.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. All the things that you guys have thought about that will actually make a big difference for a lot of people, for sure. We have just a minute or so left, gentlemen. Is there anything about Steele Racing Products that you want to let folks know about? I know it's more about brake cooling and radiator fans and all of that. There are other products you offer as well.
Yes, yeah. I want to say that oftentimes it starts there, and then the conversation goes, way elsewhere of doing a custom solution, whether it's a software specific program or it's a custom mechanical build that implements or integrates some of these systems all together. We do it all. So this is all in-house. We have the talent, we have the experience, and we've been doing this for the past 8 years now. Just, we're used to wanting things yesterday, but not saying that we like that, but we always deliver. So we're certainly, proud to be a part of this industry. and we're thankful for people like yourself that help talk about it and promote the industry, because it is a much needed thing that in a tradition and a legacy that people have, we want to keep preserving. I also do want to mention, I want to thank my friends here at Crown Concepts here in Tucson, where I'm just going to pick up my phone and show you some things that we're getting involved in over here with, and I'm sure some of the participants have deal with those radical race cars. It's more of a European type series, but can you see that? Let's see. Let me flip my phone. Sorry about that. Nope, I don't know how to do that. So I'm just going to point it. So these are these cars here are basically kind of the the road racing type equivalent of the GT, the IMSA LMP2 type vehicles, but they're being more introduced here in the United States. Crown Concepts does, they do race prep for them, and they're right here. They're right by us at our shop. So we have a great partnership with them, a great collaboration, and it's much quieter than my shop right now. So that's it's
well, Andy and LP, we can't thank you enough for being part of Online Race Industry Week and everything that you guys do with Steele Racing Products. Thank you so much for your time, and want to remind people you can go to epartrade.com, sign up if you haven't yet. It just takes a couple of minutes, but go to the Steele Racing Products page where you can contact them directly through there. I appreciate you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I just want to say also, if you dream about it, we get to us, we can probably make it happen. We're race enthusiasts too, and looking for ways to improve. We know that we have just barely scratched the beginning of it, and there's more to learn. So if you have something on your dreams that you want to make happen, contact us. We can actually make it work, and we'll both of us learn at the same time. So thank you very much for hosting us, and it's been a pleasure. You can follow us on the social medias also to learn more about. We just dropped some of the difference that we do, and also at Epartrade we put our different knowledge, not just only the products, why our products are different than others.
Awesome. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Andy, and thank you, Pedro. And if I may say this, Andy, here at Epartrade, we are big fans of S.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like that little plug-in.
Registering on Epartrade is easy. Fill out your name, email, phone number, and create a secure password. Next, select your business type. Choose supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose racing business if you're looking to find new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose race team if you own or are a member of a professional racing team. Begin typing your company name. We most likely already have your company in our database, which you can select from the drop-down. Then, enter your job title. Choose Claim Company if you'll be editing your company profile. Other members of your company can choose Join Company if they'd like to use Epartrade as well. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Click Register Now, and your registration will be submitted for approval. You'll need to confirm your email once it goes through. To keep our platform industry only, you'll be approved shortly after. If we require additional proof of business, we'll reach out. Welcome to Epartrade.